What led you into architecture?
I grew up in London, and spent a lot of time going to, the museums there, Science Museum, Natural History Museum, and getting to know London. And for me, large cities were completely normal. In fact, I thought it was kind of bizarre not to live in a large city. And the other thing I've always been interested in is making stuff. So there's a combination of making stuff, being interested in art, being interested in design, being interested in culture, being interested in how urban space is used. And the great thing about being in London in the 70s was there was lots of loose urban space that you could do interesting things in. And then architecture seemed like the logical place to go in terms of a discipline that could actually get involved with all those things, because it's inclusive.
Yeah. So what do you think is great about architecture education in the UK as opposed to other European countries or American institutions?
Right. Okay. When architectural education is working well, okay, what it does is set up the landscape for you to ask very challenging questions and to come to some form of resolution of those questions. So the architecture is a weird thing, because there are two ways of describing it. You can describe it as a profession, which is one section, I guess, of it, or you can describe it as a discipline. Now, as a discipline, it's amazingly wide. So you can become as pragmatic or esoteric as you like. As a profession, that's narrowed down slightly. But even as a profession, there are a huge diversity of ways you can operate. Now, the ability of the UK system, if it's working well, is to enable somebody to enter the discipline and define where they sit within that discipline, and then how they want to engage with the profession when they emerge out of it. That's what it should be about. And you can, in those terms, it's very, very diverse. I don't see it about kind of didactic. This is how you have to do it, kind of monk-like.
Yeah.
I
know. So if someone said, if you decided you had 1 year left as head of MSA,
yeah,
what would go to the top of your priority list to sort of leave some sort of legacy?
The nature of the joint school is something that's it is an ongoing project, and I think that, the next phase is to get a fully joint school from PhD down to BA, and to actually see how the school could engage with its context, and that's a professional context and an academic context, in the most dynamic way possible. So I think, in the immediate future, the issue will be to move from this building to our other building, but to the trajectory is to set the school up to actually get stronger and stronger through realising its interconnections with the two universities it sits in, but importantly with the profession and the industry beyond.
Do you think that, talking about the profession and the industry beyond, do you think that should be sort of localised in the city of Manchester, or go a lot wider?
So you need to have a locus in some way, which is, in a way culturalises you. It says who you are, and produces a certain kind of focus. However, that isn't the world, So the important thing is that you have a series of strong, understood kind of identities that sit within a much wider network. Because the best work comes about when you have colleagues, participators coming together who know what their background is, are comfortable and secure in that, and know how they can actually fold out their expertise into the context of a project. Now, if you view the school in those terms, you know, we know we're in Manchester. It's a fantastic city. It's very dynamic. It's not perfect, but you know, it has the level of interest that you want, and it sits within a much wider series of networks. And those networks exist individually or they exist institutionally.
If you had kind of more influence in sort of national architectural teaching,
Yeah.
what would be the thing that you would sort of look to improve across the whole of the UK in terms of architecture schools and how they?
Right, the challenge for architectural education is to set up the context where students can enter thinking they know what the subject is, but not having studied it before. Right, so it's not a subject that's currently studied at A level. Can discover what the discipline is to them, and then graduate and participate in the profession in the way they want to participate in. Now, I think there are some questions that we can ask ourselves about where architects could be, because it's very interesting. If you look at what's happened in the past 30 years or so with the shedding of responsibility of the architects and the divesting of things that are deemed to be non-design critical, so project management, other areas, they're kind of, seen as kind of dull. I think there's a lot of territory to be had there. So the question is, you need to be, when you graduate, you need to decide, okay, what do I want to be? Do I want to be wealthy? Do I want to be a successful designer? Do I want to work for? Who do I want to work for? What do I want to do with my life? Now, a good education to allow you to be able to do that, so it gives you that kind of flexibility. What has been very interesting here is there have been the two prescribed routes. Okay, part one and part two. The kind of the classical professional training routes. The education should give graduates the opportunity to operate within the profession and the discipline in whatever way they want to. I mean, that's the basic objective, I think. And that, in terms of a school of architecture, that implies that you actually hand responsibility over to the students to a large degree, so they actually have to make some choices. Sometimes that isn't very popular. Sometimes it is popular. But I think that's the nature of a decent education, is that you're empowered with the knowledge to be able to say, yes, this is what I want to do. How do I do it?
And I think this will work as well. So in terms of that, then.